John Ruck, Mr. Sunshine, and you got that Cub cap on, and that's not helping. I'm sorry. We're big rivals here, if you live. John, you did a nice job of catching our attention. The visual language, we could see ourselves in the backyard with the baseball game going on. The Cub cap was a good prop, it was okay. Running out the home run and your facial expression as you saw the ball going over into the sewer or wherever it went was a good visual. You never have a problem getting or maintaining our attention. But some random observations. You got up here and you folded your hands and then you kind of rolled your eyes a little bit. And I kind of wondered what that was about. And maybe it was a little bit of nervousness in getting in and getting started. So with your hands, you had them folded like that at the beginning, and then at various times it was a fist. You were trying to make your point. I don't know if that was an effective use of a hand and a fist. And then you had 1 and 2, and it just, with your hands, you could do a little bit better, I think. The pace was a little bit slow, and there were pauses in there. And I think that was because you were telling me yesterday that you were still working on the speech, maybe you didn't have enough time to practice it, but the pace was slow and bumpy in parts, and so that was something that caught my attention. Something too, I thought that the closure of the game in the backyard might have been in a more effective way of going through your speech and setting up your speech. At the beginning, you had young kids getting ready to go to a ball game that night, and you never really had the youngsters going to the game that night at all. And so you kind of left that out there and never really pulled that all together in a way that made sense. And I didn't really sense a theme, right? Mr. Sunshine and talking about how Buck O'Neill transformed Ernie Banks into Mr. Sunshine. I think you would have done a better job spending more time on that than the game in the backyard. Broaden the understanding, not everyone in here is a baseball fan. How many people in here knew who Buck O'Neill is? Most people. How many people know who Bob Gibson is? Harry Carey? Yeah, okay, most people. But you may get into an audience where they won't get the references, especially you kind of threw in Harry Carey at the very end, and most people knew who he was, but not everyone. You could have done a little bit more with the props. The Cub cap was good. Maybe you could have brought in a uniform or worn a shirt of the Kansas City Monarchs, something like that to bring that a little more together and using that as more of a visual. So to summarize, I think you need to identify a theme with this a little bit more. You need to spend more time developing that theme, and then to have a natural flow. So in this case, you had the ball game in the backyard, and you talked about Ernie and Buck, and then you ended it up at Busch Stadium that night with Bob Gibson striking out Ernie Banks for another Cardinals win. That's the way it would have been perfect. Thanks. Good job.